Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Wednesday, the 28th of September. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined this morning, this rather chilly morning, by Jonny McFarlane. How are we doing, Jonny?
Yeah, I was going to say, Derek, it's starting to get a little bit tasty up here once again. I've now got my electric heater because the radiator's just not enough in my north-facing room, which is pretty cold at the front of my house. So I'm slightly concerned that my energy bills are going to be about £6,000 a month when they eventually start coming in. So a little bit dangerous, a little bit dodgy, but can't be typing with frozen fingers.
Absolutely. Well, I've resisted the heating thus far, but I've had to put the old jumper on this morning. I'm like you, John. You think I shudder to think what my energy bill cost will be at the end of the month. But hey ho, we're all in the same boat at the moment. It's desperate times for a lot of people, and heading into the winter time, it's not looking too great. So make sure you wrap up warm, folks. But folk are tuning in to talk all things Rangers, Jonny. And it looks like, we're now at the end of the international break. We'll talk about those internationals shortly and the Rangers' involvement. Before we do, folks, just a reminder, as ever, we've got that offer on the website just now, just £1 for 2 months' worth of content. It's a cracking deal. Head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe for all the details. I've bumped the link in, as ever, in the comments section, and assure you won't be disappointed. There's lots of great stuff on there. There's a great article that Joshua has done on Leon King and his rise into the Rangers first team this morning. It is absolutely superb, so do go check out the site. Okay, Jonny, not much to talk about. I think that the big talking point last night, of course, was Scotland getting a goalless draw away to Ukraine. But from a Rangers perspective, Ryan Jack came into the side and played his part. Got to say, I'm absolutely delighted for him, because he's had his own problems to seek with regards to injuries. It's been a rather frustrating time for him in the last 12 months, you've got to say. But he has started playing more of a role in that Rangers midfield. And it's great to see him getting international recognition. And not only that, Jonny, playing a major role in what was a good result for Scotland last night as well.
Yeah, terrific result for the national team. Well done, Scotland. And I thought Ryan Jack was absolutely terrific at the base of that midfield. Scotland don't have anyone else like Ryan Jack. And I tend to fall out with people on Twitter over this, because people start giving you, based on club allegiances, the fact is, Ryan Jack is the one player in Scotland's midfield area that has a real sense of defensive nous. Do I think Ryan Jack's as good a player today as Scott McTominay, Callum McGregor? Possibly not. But in terms of what he does, in terms of holding the midfield, I think he's the best. And it's important that the team has balance, and especially important the midfield has balance. And you look at those players around them that I've mentioned, you add in someone like Billy Gilmour. These are guys that are more forward-thinking in a lot of ways. Billy Gilmour, obviously a deep-lying midfielder, but very progressive in the way he moves the ball forward. Whereas Ryan Jack is just a natural at snuffing out danger, a natural at the defensive dirty side of the game. And when he plays, I just think Scotland look like a different team. He's not the physical force that he once was, Ryan Jack, but what he has in spades is game intelligence. And last night, I thought he used the ball terrifically well, which is a major part of international football, and was excellent in midfield. There was other standouts, of course. You can't ignore how good Ryan Porteous was, as much as many people would probably like to. Just showing that he's actually a really good player if he cuts out the nonsense. And I thought Aaron Hickey, he looks unbelievable. I mean, that's a major miss, to be honest, by Rangers, that he was allowed to depart when you think he can play left or right back. £1.5 million. I think Rangers should have been all over that. That's looking like a major error. Now, I don't know if that was even really on the agenda. I know that Rangers were aware of the player and had looked at him, but I thought Aaron Hickey looked terrific as well. So lots of good positives, and Scotland obviously now promoted to the A group and heading for a playoff. So major move forward. Now in the second tier of seeds as well, Derek, for the European Championship draw, which should give them an even better chance of attending another Euros. So it's all very positive. which is unusual for us to talk about Scotland in a positive way. But yeah, well done, Ryan Jack, for a great performance, and well done, Scotland, for a good night.
Yeah, and I think the thing that is the forefront of my mind, I just hope that all players that were away representing their countries come back in one piece. We've seen, unfortunately, Nathan Patterson stretched off in a game last week. But hopefully, touchwood, the likes of Yilmaz, Barisic, Kamara, Jack, and what have you, McCrory, who was aware of the Scotland setup as well, come back in one piece. Ahead of what is a huge game on Saturday against Hearts at Tynecastle, of course. Number of questions come in to do with Rangers here. First of all, we'll touch on this from Graham Corkin, good friend of the show. Morning all. Any truth in Kamara being put up for sale? I don't think that he's been put up for sale, Johnny. He's a player that during his time at Rangers has attracted attention. There's no doubt about it. And I've got to say there was murmurings of potential bids in the summer from the likes of Ligue 1 in France. However, nothing came to Rangers' valuation. There was nothing on the table that was worth discussing. However, I think he's a player. I'd imagine there'll be more. I seen there was a report down in Birmingham that Aston Villa are keeping tabs on him, of course, with Steven Gerrard being the manager down there. I don't think the reports that he could be on his way will go away, and I expect in January time there'll be a number of clubs sniffing about once again. The good thing about Kamara, though, Johnny, is he's not one of the players, one of the 12 players, I think, that are out of contract in the summer. So Rangers can demand a decent fee for him, and there's no doubt about it. They're going to make money on £50,000 that they gave Dundee for him.
Yeah, I noticed that report the other day in the local Birmingham paper suggesting that Aston Villa might be looking at Glen Kamara as a replacement for Douglas Luiz, who has been heavily linked with a move to Arsenal, didn't get it in the summer, and kind of hasn't really been too happy in the interim period. So maybe Glen Kamara is someone Steven Gerrard sees in an ideal replacement, a tidy midfielder who uses the ball well, and a guy with a bit of flex, I think, who can grow and develop as a player. For me, Glen Kamara's reached a point, I think, in his Rangers career where, as good as I think he is and he's capable of being, I'm not sure he's a perfect fit for this current manager's style of play. It's odd to me that ultimately bids did come in the summer, but a deal wasn't done given how little he's kind of been used since the start of the season. He's been in and out of the team. And I've just always felt that the way Gio plays with the one holding midfielder and the two pushed forward more often than not, Glen Kamara's in the kind of wrong movie in that. And we've seen him try to be used as a 10, Gio doing one of his reinventions. But while Kamara has all the attributes, he's got the quick feet, he can pass, he can shoot. I don't know if there's something inhibiting him. He just doesn't really look naturally comfortable there. It should work, but it's not. And I think that if you get a decent deal for the player, then Rangers should seriously consider it. I think anything in the region between 7 and 10 million would be a good way to call it a day on Glen Kamara and try and reinvest that some money in a player with a little bit more forward momentum, a little bit more physicality, and more in keeping with what Giovanni Van Bronckhorst is looking for. You look surprised there. You think that's too low?
No, I think I would bite your hand off if they get 8 figures for him. Even £7 million, I'd bite your hand off. I think based on current form, I'd be inclined to take 5. I've got to say, I don't think he's producing for Rangers at the moment. I think the money could be spent elsewhere. He's one of him. I know some comments are coming about Ryan Kent as well, and the comments are right, folks. He's another one that's not played well for a number of months, I would say. So I would take £5 million. I'd be quite happy with. I've got to admit. I don't know if some of you agree in the comments. CGM55 says, "Well, we're lucky to get £5 million for him." Yeah, listen. Yeah, we know on his day he's a good player, but consistency is an issue for him, and he's simply not. He's had more bad games than good this season.
Yeah, the only thing I would say, Derek, basically is he's a finishing international. He's a key player in that team. He's come through Arsenal, come to Rangers, being a key figure in the teams that won the Scottish Cup in 55, as well as the Europa League final, where he was outstanding throughout that run. I think the problem is Glen Kamara now is probably feeling a little bit like he's seen it and done it on the domestic scene, and that comes across in his performances.
Yeah,
he always seems to play much better in Europe. He's becoming another Brahim Hendani type figure, isn't he?
Yes,
I just think ultimately he's a good player, and yes, form is temporary, but class is permanent. And I'd have to say I'd be personally disappointed to see him walk out the door for £5 million. I think he's better than that, and I think if Aston Villa are able to snap him up for £5 million, I think that'll be an outstanding piece of business that will pay off for them, because you'll definitely get value in the Premier League on that for a player with Glen Kamara's talents.
Yeah. Listen, he's given an interview to a media outlet in Finland, folks, and the transcription is on the Rangers Review site. Go check it out. But it talks about the difficulties of getting a regular place in the side. I'll just quickly read his quote. It says, the head coach decides the team, whether I'm on the bench or on the pitch, I'll do my job. I work hard. I just have to keep doing it. That's the truth. Sometimes I know why I'm not in the starting lineup. I've talked to the manager sometimes after games or before a match. Of course, it's difficult to have full confidence when I don't get to play. I haven't played in that many games now or started many. It hasn't been easy. As I said, you have to keep working and then everything will be fine. So, listen, he's saying there he's not getting a proper run of games. Listen, he could have a fair point, but in the chances he has in press, and I think you're right, Johnny. I think he's sort of a specialist player now. Rangers don't necessarily need those two defensive midfield players in domestic league games. As CGM 55, it's two sideways in games, don't need Kamara in the team yet. Listen, I think he's a player that Rangers could afford to lose, and it wouldn't affect the side too much. And of course, money would be brought in for him as well. Donald says $3 million at best. I believe that was a sort of figure that was mooted in the summer, which is you got to say a bit paltry in the summertime. I think that was last.
That didn't meet the club's valuation, Derek.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. The club rejected that bid from the French club.
Yeah, Ian McDougall makes a valid point. He says Glenn has been in Scotland for how long now? A long time. Rangers and Dundee combined, it's near a decade. He wants away and the time is right. You can't blame players for wanting to move on. They playing the same team 4 or 5 times a season, and he has been at Rangers for he joined in January 2019, I think it was.
2019 January, yeah.
Yeah, so he's been at Rangers for a bit of time, and of course, as Ian said, Dundee before then also. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with regards to that. Good hello to Ian, who gets in touch. He says, "No, well here, got the COVID." Sorry to hear that, Ian. Hopefully you're on the mend soon. I know it's doing the rounds once again as moving into the colder weather as well. So keep safe out there, folks. Good question came in here from Teddy Bear. Did you see or hear the James Bisgrove interview? I know that David Edgar from Heart and Hand spoke to him yesterday, Johnny. Now, we've been speaking to him also. That will appear on the website as well in due course. So do go check it out when it appears on there, folks. Every reason to subscribe as well to the site. I thought it was a good interview from David. He posed a number of questions that the supporters were looking for answers for, especially around Majers, Champions League ticket pricing, all that sort of thing. Johnny, you've had a listen to it as well. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I thought it was a really good interview. Lots to talk about. I think it was nearly half an hour that Bisgrove spoke for. He speaks really well. He's clearly a kind of slick, polished individual. I think giving him and Rangers the benefit of the doubt, fundamentally, I think what the problem is they're trying to find a balance between business and making the absolute most bang for their buck as a business to reinvest in the team, and ensuring the fans get the value and are treated with the kind of treated not as customers, but as supporters. And I think that's a really important distinction. And I don't think the club have always got that right. I think that's a really, really difficult balance to strike for any club. But Rangers have had a few more issues around that side of things, I think, than most. And Listen, a lot of this is due to the fact that in 2012, from 2012 onwards, the club was in a really bad state. And when it was inherited in 2015 by Dave King and his boards, many of those who are still around today, the infrastructure was completely decimated, and the club have had to rebuild that. But they've not been doing it fast enough, and I think they accept that themselves. They accept that there's going to be criticism for the things they don't do, and I've got to be honest. Like, if you want a commercial guy at the club, I want someone like Bisgrove, that's what commercial guys are like. They're corporate and slick, and they are able to talk well because that's part of their job, isn't it? It's smoozing with companies and agreeing deals. And so if you look at the money that James Bisgrove's managed to bring in, I think the target that he talked about was 27 million. He said in the interview with David Edgar on Heart and Hand, which I think you can find on their platforms. It's on YouTube as well for free. He says to David Edgar that they've already gone over that £27 million target, and I think next year's 28. Did he say 28? What did he say for next year? 30 million? Can't remember. It was slightly higher than the 28.
Yeah.
And fundamentally, it's clear that the club are trying to kick on when it comes to the commercial side of things, and they certainly have, because in the time that the board have been at the club, it's massively increased. So really important that continues, and really important that they find an answer as well to all these issues that really frustrate the fans. The stuff like the website being so poor to use in terms of buying tickets, just really difficult and not user friendly. Things like MyGears, which causes a lot of problems. We understand that it brings in money. It's been a great success, but it's also a constant cause for tumult and unrest amongst the support about decisions. And I think that needs to be as transparent as possible, just as Bisgrove says in the interview. But it's one thing saying it, you need to actually go and make it happen.
Yeah.
And there's lots of work still to do, Derek. There's no doubt about that. But I think the good thing is that Bisgrove coming out and talking to Derek, talking to David, and talking to you, Derek, at least gets answers to the questions that fans have out there, and then it's up to the fans themselves to decide whether these answers are good enough or not. But patience won't be unlimited, Derek. That's the way it is at Rangers. High standards, high demands, and it's one thing talking the talk, but you've got to also walk the walk. And I'm sure that James Bisgrove will deliver on a lot of these things, because it's clear that he knows what he has to do. It's just a case of now going away and giving him time to go away and do it.
Yeah. Listen, there's a lot of comments coming in. MyGears is a contentious one just now. CGM55 says, a massive waste of money unless you want a souvenir pencil sharpener every year. Listen, there's a bit of ill feeling with regards to MyGears just now. I think a lot of it warranted. A lot of supporters that I speak to heading to games say they've got no chance of getting away tickets. But up here in the demand, the applications for away games touching on 20,000 and you're lucky to get just over 1,000 in terms of allocation for a lot of these places. So
that's impossible. That's just an impossible scenario.
Yeah,
I mean, really difficult. Yeah. How do you find a solution to that?
Yeah, it's a right difficult one. I'm not too sure. Good morning to Gio gets in touch. Good morning, Bears, from a cloudy Milan. Good to have your company, Gio. Shows you about a worldwide video show every morning. So good to have you tuning in, Gio. Broxy Bears bro gets in touch in support of the board. This board stopped 10 in a row, got us to a Euro final, fixed Ibrox and so on. We forget too quickly. Listen, they have done a lot of good things, and I think they do deserve credit for a lot of things, but at the same time, there's issues there that supporters feel a bit disillusioned with and need addressed, and hopefully with the interviews that have been given by the likes of John Bennett, of course, to Rangers TV, Stuart Robertson, who you spoke to on the Rangers review site, Johnny, and now James Bisgrove. They are listening to supporters' concerns, and you can only hope that it's a start, as we mentioned before, that communication, that line of communication and transparency can open up, and they can listen to supporters' concerns, because silence, as John Bennett says, it creates a vacuum, doesn't it? And it makes increases rumours and speculation and what have you. So, it's important, I think, that the board come out and speak to the fan base. There's no doubt about it. Number of other comments coming in. We'll try and get to a few more of them before we go. Question there from Juicy Bear. We have 2 titles in 12 years. I think there's a lot of context you have to read into that as well, though. It's easy saying that, of course, but I know it's a lot of detail you need to dig into that as to why. But yeah, listen, a lot of comments for and against the board at the moment. As I mentioned, the interview with James Bisgrove will appear on the website, folks, on the Rangers review site. I do ask him about a number of issues, including the likes of Castore. Also Edmonston House, which is an exciting. We talked about this a few days ago, Johnny. Edmonston House. He's hoping that will generate about £1 million a year for the club. It's an exciting development. There's no doubt about it. Blue Sky Lounge is another thing. Yeah. As soon as these get up and running, I think it's just going to improve the match day experience tenfold.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what the club's trying to do, Derek, is build a long-term sustainable future for the club. And, there's been a lot of talk about never again. And part of it, there never being a situation like 2012 again, is ensuring that over the long term, the club can sustainably create revenue and sustainably create revenue that can then be pushed back into the first team or used to plug gaps where they occur. The key problem that Rangers have in the battle with Celtic, and make no mistake, it is a battle with Celtic. The other clubs just are too far away to get close to the old firm. Celtic have 10,000 more in their stadium, and that's a key problem. They are able to generate another 10,000 season tickets, and that is significant money. So they have that advantage. And that's always going to be an issue until that issue is solved by Rangers improving the size of Ibrox.
Yeah.
The only way you can do that is by creating projects that bring more money in, that allow you to raise the level of the revenue, that therefore gets you closer to Celtic in terms of what they're able to generate. Because we all know, and the data is out there, and the work has been done, that the higher the wage bill, the more likely you are to get success. That is unarguable. It is a fact. So the more money that comes in, the more opportunity you have to increase that wage bill, and that directly leads to success. And I think the board are trying to do that. They've not got everything right. Obviously, they haven't. And there is a sort of situation that's emerged through, I think, a vacuum, as John Bennett says.
Yeah.
And it's important they just continue moving forward with this process that they've already undertaken, to start talking, to start opening up, to get the information out there. Not everyone's going to like the information. A lot of people didn't like what Stuart Robertson had to say to me. I'm sure people won't like what everything James Bisgrove had to say to David yesterday, and they won't like everything that he had to say to you when we release that later on in the week.
But at least they're saying things.
But it gives the fans an opportunity to assess what's actually going on, to discuss it. And I think one thing that we learned from that period, going back to 2012 once again, is that you need scrutiny. And scrutiny is not a bad thing, as long as it's channeled positively. So the boards, have to take that scrutiny, and it can be difficult. And I don't envy that, because no one likes an intense level of scrutiny over what they do. But I think it's overall a healthy thing that the Rangers supporters don't just, accept what they're told blindly, that they look into it, that they assess it, that they listen to independent experts, and then they form their opinion.
Yeah. Lots of comments from fans wanting an extension to the stadium. Listen, that's going to cost multi-million pounds. I think that's way down the line. Multiple Man 78 says, remember the kids' toys called trolls? Derek appears to have the hair of an oversized troll in his mouth. It's not an actual troll. It's just a little jug that the wife bought from some store. So there you go. Just to clarify that. Although I would like an oversized troll in there.
That jug is for the tears of fans of opposing clubs that Derek's annoyed on Twitter.
Yeah, absolutely. Who cares? Says press conference. No, I believe that'll be Friday. Usually is the day before a game. But so it should be a couple of days away. Josh gets in touch and says, "Morning all. Anyone going to Liverpool away? Heading down solo myself. Need a mate. So if any of you want to head down with Josh, I'm not too sure where you're travelling from, Josh, but let us know in the comments. Hopefully you can team up with one of a number of supporters that are heading down to Anfield. I've got to say, I'm mega jealous. I'm not going to be at the game. I'll be on holiday. I'll be in Helsinki, of all places, next week. So I'm going to miss it, unfortunately, which is a right gutter because it's literally on my doorstep. But just looking to that, I know what the Tynecastle game coming up, Johnny, but what a match to look forward to. We talk about Rangers being back on the big stage, but running out at Anfield to take on Liverpool is going to be something else. I know they're up against it and what have you.
You've been confident since the get-go, Derek. You're confident about this tie.
Listen, I think Liverpool are a shadow. I'm sure everyone will agree of the team that they once were. That they're a team that are at the end of their cycle. And I said before, if Crystal Palace can get a result down there, Rangers can. Just the former Rangers leaves me a tad worried heading into that game. But
I feel a lot better about going down there if I had Wilfred Zaha up front, mate, leading the line.
It's going to be a right occasion. You just hope that Rangers compete, Johnny, don't you?
Yeah, look, that's all that's important at this stage. The Champions League, it's a free hit. I mean, none of us expected Rangers to go and qualify from this group, right? No one would have expected that. Compete, yes, and they didn't compete against Ajax. They did compete against Napoli. It went wrong. Various things happened in the game that I think circumstances converged to mean it was very difficult for Rangers. But if you can go to Anfield and put on a good account of yourself, if you can be disciplined, if you can be organised and not get thrashed, I think everyone will be fairly happy with that. And that's very, very unusual to say about Rangers. But there has to be a level of realism that this really is a step up to anything that Rangers have faced in the last 4 years. As certainly since Steven Gerrard walked in the door, there's been no team that's been at this level. So, yeah.
Yeah, lots of comments because I'm not there. Rangers are given to pick up points. Ian says he's glad I'm going to Helsinki. We'll get points. Scott says if Derek is not going, and multiple man 70 to get your money on the Rangers win at Anfield. Derek the Jinx is on a holiday. Woohoo! Yeah, I've not seen Rangers win away in Europe ever. It really is, but it's very rare that Rangers win away in Europe, isn't it? But yeah. Not seen it yet, and if they win at Anfield, then I think I'm going to stay clear of any future European games. A good comment coming in here from William. We'll touch on Johnny. He says, "Good luck to the women's team tonight, and arguably their biggest game for the club. Only good part of the Sky deal is on the women's football side." Yeah, that was something that I wasn't aware of before it was announced that they will show some women's matches next. Well, I think going forward, linking up with, I think BBC show some games as well. But listen, yeah, good luck to them in that Champions League second leg match against Benfica. Up against it, it's going to be tough for them after losing the first leg at Ibrox. I believe it was 3-2 they lost, if I'm not mistaken. So it's not going to be an easy task for them, but it's great to see them playing at this stage, Johnny, and getting that opportunity last week of playing at Ibrox and getting the chance to run out and sort of, live out their dreams, if you like. It really is something else. So good luck to them tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. What an achievement that would be. And you know, it's a difficult one. They're up against it 3-2 from the first leg, but you never know. You never discount Rangers in any form. And this women's side has done great things already, winning the league. Clearly, they're on the up. Clearly, they're going to become the major force in women's football. And you can see already Glasgow City, who dominated for so long, are kind of melting away a little bit. So you've just got to say go out there and give it all you've got to the girls, and hopefully they can pull off a result.
Yeah, Aldo says it's on the Rangers YouTube troops as well, so you can go and check it out a little later on. So good luck to Malky Thompson and the girls. Hopefully they do the club proud and get a positive result over in Portugal. Okay, folks, that'll do us there. Thanks to everyone for getting in touch with the programme. It really is greatly appreciated. We'll continue the big build-up towards the match at Tynecastle tomorrow when we return. But until then, enjoy the rest of